Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of my Death Knight Let's Play series in World of Warcraft, where over the course of the last couple of episodes we have been playing through the starting experience for Death Knights, and today we are going to finish up our adventures here in the Scarlet Enclave in the Eastern Plaguelands, where we are currently in Akris, and we need to come down to the bottom layer in order to take a griffin down to Death's Breach, where we are going to chat with the one and only Lich King, where we only have a couple of quests left to do here. Where at the end of last episode, we saw all of the Scarlet Crusade forces here leave the Scarlet Enclave and basically transformed into the Scarlet Onslaught, a new version of the Scarlet Crusade, as they head to Northrend to do some shenanigans up in Northrend.
Has abandoned you.
But many Scarlet Crusaders from Hearthglen and from Tirisfal have arrived here in order to help out, who they thought they were going to help out to the Scarlet Crusade here, but the Scarlet Crusade here left. So now we can wipe them out, and where we can really just completely obliterate all the Scarlet Crusade forces here in Lordran, where we can go ahead and use the Horn of the Frostbrood, and we can kill a ton of soldiers and some ballistae, and then we get this really cool helmet. So let's accept this quest and then use the horn, and we are now on a zombie dragon, an undead dragon, more of a skeletal dragon I guess, where we have this special frozen death bolt ability that's just going to deal a ton of damage.
Where is your light now, Crusaders?
And then we can devour a Scarlet Crusader to refill the Frostbrood's Vanquisher's mana, and there are just a ton of different Crusaders around here, where we can see some are called Hearthglen, some are called Tirisfal, so just different Crusaders here who were trying to help defeat the Scourge, but since all of their friends here left, they have now been basically trapped here, and we can go ahead and just run around and just cast our Death Bolt a bunch, where we do have a mana bar here. I believe it's going to be mana, where we can use the Devour Humanoid to refill our mana. Yes, it is indeed mana. So we can just grab this one, and you can see we're just like eating it while he is trying to like punch the dragon, but we can just restore our mana, and we're also going to deal like a ton of damage to him and then drop him, and then he falls back down to the ground there, where New Avalon is now completely on fire. And if we come back to this area after we are done exploring through this place, we can discover that it is just completely destroyed. A few groups of Crusaders just all around the ballistae, where we've already... oh, that was a lot of damage, it felt like, except we're not really taking any damage. Where there are a ton of ballistae, and we've already completed that part of this quest. We just need to kill a ton of Crusaders. And I love seeing the like javelin, or whatever the technical name is, for the ammunition that the ballista is like launching at us, just like flying through the air. And I feel like we would only need a couple of those to destroy like this dragon, but this dragon must be very powerful. We need to recover our mana once again, so we'll just kidnap this Crusader, fly up this way. We do have a little bit of a cooldown before we can start using our Death Bolt again. Over towards the church we were at last episode, and then one more group here. And then I think we can exit and it'll teleport us back. I'm not 100% sure. Let's just fly back just to be safe and end to all things. Where the Death Knight starting experience is just super nostalgic for me, and I've had a ton of fun kind of just like walking down memory lane and re-experiencing this again, which is kind of a lot of what I've done with World of Warcraft recently. It's just going down a little bit of a nostalgia trip. You can see some undead fighting, the Scarlet Crusaders pushing this way.
Leave no survivors.
Pushing towards the Lich King himself. Let's chat with him. Get this great helm. And now we have the Lich King's command, where we need to report to Scourge Commander Thalanor at Browman Mill. So let's go ahead and equip this great helm, and now we are fully decked out in the best armor that we can get from the starting experience. But we do have this quest here, which is going to lead to another quest where we will be able to get a special two-handed weapon, or a one-handed weapon, I believe. But we have this incredible quest that we are heading towards, because we have spent all of our time here in the Scarlet Enclave just obliterating the different Scarlet Crusaders around here. And now that we have wiped out the Scarlet Crusade, we can go ahead and turn our attention to the Argent Dawn, where we are going to prepare to attack Light's Hope Chapel itself, where we can see some necromancers there with Noth and just a bunch of undead all around this area. But this area, of course, is returning back to areas that we explored in vanilla World of Warcraft. And as we come down to Browman Mill, of course, in my Human Mage Let's Play series, this is where I reached level 60 at the end of that Let's Play series, at like level or episode 52. So this is just like a very special spot for me in general, and it is cool to come here where we can see Thalanar.
Soldiers of the Scourge, stand ready! Prepare to unleash your fury upon the Argent Dawn!
Another human, and we can go ahead and pick up the quest, The Light of Dawn. The Argent Dawn stands defiantly against us at Light's Hope Chapel. They dare oppose the Scourge, and for that reason alone, they must be destroyed. The mighty armies of the Lich King stand at the ready as the final battle for the Plaguelands approach. Today, we ascend into the immortal realms of Scourge heroes. When you are ready for battle, report to High Lord Darren Morgraine. It is the High Lord who will issue the final march orders and command our armies at Light's Hope Chapel.
Tomorrow is another.
So we can see Morgraine here. And this player already begun, which is actually kind of nice because we only have to wait 3 minutes here. But we have Orbaz Bloodbane, who is actually somebody we fight in Icecrown, but it's a little bit later on in Icecrown than I originally said last episode. But then we have Thessarian and Quatera Deathweaver here, and just some of the most powerful Death Knights.
Soon, Azeroth's futile tears will rain down upon us.
In all of Azeroth. And we have some giant flesh behemoths. We got like a scavenger flying back there. And we are going to see a ton of undead appearing in just a moment. Where of course this is a little bit of a reference to 300, where we have 10,000 forces of the Scourge remaining and only 300 forces of the Light. And this is probably the most cinematic part of the entire Death Knight starting experience, where we can go ahead and line up here. This other player is kind of lining up, and we are in formation with his minion Grubstalker, because he is an unholy Death Knight, so he can summon some undead minions to help out with him. 1 minute until the battle for Light's Hope Chapel begins. 1 minute until we fight some renowned characters who we have interacted with in our adventures throughout the Eastern Plaguelands, and some of the most noble heroes in all of Azeroth. Where let's go ahead and just enjoy this fully cinematically with no chatting.
Soldiers of the Scourge, Death Knights of Acheros, minions of the darkness, hear the call of the High Lord! Rise! The skies turn red with the blood of the fallen! The Lich King watches over us, minions! Leave only ashes and misery in your destructive wake!
Stand fast, brothers and sisters! The light will prevail!
The Argent Dawn is finished! You will do as I command! I am in control here! listening to me?
Get closer.
Cannot! Blade fights me! Cannot win, Darian!
Forward.
Minions, come to my aid!
Need to get closer. I don't have a target.
Bring them before the chapel! Stand down, Death Knights! We have lost. The light. This place. No hope. Have you learned nothing, boy? You have become all that your father fought against. Like that coward Arthas, you allowed yourself to be consumed by the darkness, the hate, feeding upon the misery of those you tortured and killed. Your master knows what lies beneath the chapel. It is why he dares not show his face. He sent you and your Death Knights to meet their doom, Darian. What you are feeling right now is the anguish of 1,000 lost souls. Souls that you and your master brought here. The light will tear you apart, Darian. Save your breath, old man. It might be the last you ever draw.
My son.
Father!
My dear, beautiful boy.
What?
Father,
Is-
you have returned. You've been gone a long time, Father. I thought...
Nothing could have kept me away from here, Darian. Not from my home and family.
Father, I wish to join you in the war against the undead. I want to fight. I can sit idle no longer.
Darian Mograine, you are barely of age to hold a sword, let alone battle the undead hordes of Lordaeron. I could not bear losing you. Even the thought...
If I die, Father, I would rather it be on my feet, standing in defiance against the undead legions. If I die, let me die with you!
My son, there will come a day when you will command the Ashbringer, and with it, mete out justice across this land. I have no doubt that when that day finally comes, you will bring pride to our people, and that Lordaeron will be a better place because of you. But, my son, that day is not today. Do not forget.
Touching. He's mine now.
You betrayed me. You betrayed us all, monster! Face the might of Mograine!
Pathetic.
You're a damned monster, Arthas.
You were right, Fordring. I did send them in to die. Their lives are meaningless. But yours... How simple it was to draw the great Tyrion Fordring out of hiding. You've left yourself exposed, Paladin. Nothing will save you.
That day is not today. Tyrion!
Arthas!
What is this?
Your end.
Impossible. This is not over. When next we meet, it won't be on holy ground, Paladin.
Rise, Darian, and listen. We have all been witness to a terrible tragedy. The blood of good men has been shed upon this soil. Honorable knights, slain defending their lives, our lives. And while such things can never be forgotten, we must remain vigilant in our cause. The Lich King must answer for what he has done, and must not be allowed to cause further destruction in our world. I make a promise to you now, brothers and sisters. The Lich King will be defeated. On this day, I call for a union. The Argent Dawn and the Order of the Silver Hand will come together as one. We will succeed where so many before us have failed. We will take the fight to Arthas, and we will tear down the walls of Icecrown. The Argent Crusade comes for you, Arthas!
So too do the Knights of the Ebon Blade. Although our kind has no place in your world, we will fight to bring an end to the Lich King. This I vow.
Where we have uncovered the light of dawn, and this is just so cool. I love this so much, where so much stuff just happened. And a very fun detail that I actually never noticed before is that Orbaz Bloodbane actually flees during the fight and runs away, which is why he's still a minion of the Scourge. But it's kind of interesting that that happens, because like he's like an undead, and I don't think undead are supposed to flee, but then he like fled anyways, but he's still allowed to like be a minion of Arthas and whatnot, which is just a very interesting concept. But of course, High Lord Tyrion Fordring is my favorite character in all World of Warcraft, and Arthas is my favorite villain, so seeing the two fighting here is really cool. And the Ashbringer is one of my favorite items in all World of Warcraft, and it looks so cool, and this entire story is so cool, and Darian's story is so cool, and it's I just love this entire story. And of course, this leads directly into the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, where we now have the Argent Crusade, where it's kind of fun to see the Scarlet Crusade transform into the Scarlet Onslaught in this expansion, and then we see the Argent Dawn transform into the Argent Crusade as they unite with the Knights of the Silver Hand, which is a faction that you should know a lot about if you played through like Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3. Where now we can go ahead and get a saber if you wanted, or a great sword of the Ebon Blade, or a great axe. And let's pick the great sword because I think it looks the coolest. Where we have now leveled up to level 18, and we can take back Akris because we now have the Knights of the Ebon Blade who are going to be working with us in the future of World of Warcraft story. Where I learned a new ability, I think, where maybe we want to do this, or we can bring down this Deathgate ability that we just learned, and we can go ahead and cast this, and this is going to return us to Akris right up above where we are right now. But we do have like a long loading screen because we're now being teleported to the Eastern Kingdom. So yes, we are now in the Eastern Plaguelands proper, and we are no longer in the starting zone, but we still have this quest here where we can take back Akris, where we need to kill Patchwork, one of the bosses from Naxxramas, of course, where, oh, they're all right here, and where Patchwork does return in Naxxramas in Wrath Lich King. Let's go ahead and kill these Scourge forces, and then we need to find Patchwork somewhere. Is he above us, or is he like down here? I forget. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be down here, but I don't see him. Many Knights of the Ebon Blade have lost their lives here, and we see a ton of undead just scattered here as well. Where of course Kotira and Thessarian are kind of like the leaders of the Death Knights when it comes to like being a liaison to the Horde and Alliance. I guess you could call them ambassadors, where they will be people that we interact with. We got Valkyrie Battle Maiden here, very, very cool looking. And this is something I talked about in my Guild Wars 2 Let's Play series, with like the Risen, which is like the big undead faction at the start of the game, are very cool because you fight like some low level Risen early on in like earlier zones, and then you fight like very interesting higher level Risen as you get closer to like in game, and you fight a ton at like in game. Where we see something similar with World of Warcraft as well, with like vanilla WoW, where we see like a ton of like lower level Risen, and then when you get to like higher levels in vanilla WoW, you fight some very interesting undead, not Risen. And then when you get to the Wrath Lich King expansion and they expand like the undead Scourge like a ton, we see some very, very interesting undead that you can fight. And I think that's just like really fun like progression through like a story where we fight more and more interesting and like intimidating and threatening undead, like this Patchwork abomination right here named Patchwork. Man, he's pretty easy to kill, and then we just need to kill a couple more undead. What happened to Patchwork? But let's kill this Battle Maiden. And then we need to flee out of here. There's a ton of undead just everywhere. Let's come back towards this line of the Ebon Blade here. 3 Draenei and a Tauren. Make up that line. And we're just going to fight like twice as many undead as we need, it looks like. So, oops, I muted myself. Let's go ahead and kill the Valkyrie. Of course, very, very important characters in World of Warcraft story. And now that we have completed the battle for the Ebon Hold, a little bit less exciting than the battle for Lightsworn Chapel. Let's return to Darien once again, complete this quest, and now we can do the quest Where Kings Walk, where now that we are free of the Lich King's guys, and we are now basically going to ally ourselves with the Horde Alliance, and since we are a Night Elf, we ally ourselves with the Alliance, of course, where we can go ahead and return to Stormwind City. So let's go ahead and do just that by taking this portal, and we need to chat with the leader of Stormwind City, and I'm not sure who the leader is going to be when we load into here, so we'll just have to wait and see for that. And as we load into Elven Forest at the Stormwind Gate, we can see the beautiful Elven Forest, but we see the Stormwind City Guard, who is actually unfriendly to us, and she just spit on us and gave us this effect here, spit. Spat on, nobody likes you, because of course we are undead basically, and we are about to walk into the gates of Stormwind, and people are not going to like us. Where a very fun detail here is when the Forsaken basically like freed themselves from the Lich King, and Forsaken ambassadors came to the gates of Stormwind to try to establish diplomatic relations with the Alliance and to basically allow the Forsaken to like reunite with their family here in Stormwind. They were all killed like instantly, where we are about to basically walk in their path as well, but we're going to be allowed into the city where the Forsaken were killed, and then they had to turn to the Horde and join the Horde basically via the help of the Tauren. Where let's go ahead and walk in, where Stormwind City of course is very, very cool, and we have all these guards here, very cool. Squire Rowe, a very iconic character. Got Jorgen down there, another iconic character. We have General Hammond Clay, a less iconic character. A lot of people know Jonathan Marcus or whatever his name is, where they are throwing rotten fruit at us. A rotten apple aroma is now on us. Can see some children here and some Drakthir, because of course we are in the War Within expansion right now, and the Drakthir exist in this version of the game. We have people screaming monster and traitorous dog, and they're just screaming in fear as well. Where this is just an intense introduction to the Alliance, which I always thought was really cool. And it's a very similar experience for the Horde. And nowadays, Horde players don't have to go far, but back in Wrath Lich King, they did have to go through like the entirety of Orgrimmar. But Alliance players still have to travel pretty far into Stormwind in order to get to the throne room, which says we need to deliver a letter to King Anduin Wrynn. Or during Wrath Lich King, it would be King Varian Wrynn, and I'm not sure if it's actually going to be Anduin up here, just because of how World of Warcraft is weird. We have Vertos here, and we have the quest marker, which takes us right here, but I think we want to walk in this way, where we have the Royal Guards, and it's still taking us back there, but here is Anduin Wrynn himself, the King of Stormwind.
For the Alliance above all.
And he says, you have mere moments to live.
Victory in the
Where he
light.
stares off in the distance. Indeed, old friend, blood and honor. Anduin affixes his gaze upon you. Were it not for this letter from Tyrion, you would be in irons. Only an endorsement from one of the greatest paladins to ever live could have ensured your survival. We will work together against the Scourge, against the Lich King. Glory to the Alliance.
Safe journey to you.
And he yells, people of Stormwind, citizens of the Alliance, your king speaks. Today marks the first of many defeats for the Scourge. Death Knights, once in the service of the Lich King, have broken free from his grasp and formed a new alliance against his tyranny. You will welcome these former heroes of the Alliance and treat them with the respect that you would give to any ally of Stormwind. Glory to the Alliance. And now we are a member of the Alliance, where we have this quest here to go to Red Ridge Mountains, which I guess is what we could begin doing, but I want to go ahead and do what Death Knight characters would do right after this quest, and that is to go to Outland. And this is going to be the final time that I explore a bit of Outland in a Let's Play series. So this is kind of a big moment for me, where we can actually do some other things as well on the way there, where let's go down to the Dwarven District first. And we can see we have kept all of our items from the Death Knight starting experience, and we can throw into our bank if we wanted to, and we just have like a wide variety of like fun things that I picked up. And now that we're done with the Death Knight starting experience, we are really free to do whatever we want. Where I want to go to Outland, but we could go to Dragonflight, or if I had the War Within, we could go to the War Within, and just, you know, so on and so forth. Where I have the opportunity to go to Red Ridge there if I wanted to. Where let's just head this way first, because we have this inn right here where we have our Hearthstone that would take us to Akris the Ebonhold or Scourgestone, but it is no longer in our inventory, and we can now get officially a Hearthstone from this innkeeper right here, where let's make this inn our home. And then we can return here in the future, where let's just go this way really quickly, where I'm currently level 18, so we unlock like flying at like level 30, and we unlock like the War Within content at like level 70, and there's some other milestones that we can look at as well, where there's a really cool Fell Hunter down here. I think that's a Fell Hunter, not entirely sure. But Chromie, Emissary of the Bronze Dragonflight, let's select a timeline, and let's select Portal to Outland, where I just want to do a little bit of Outland exploration, just because that's how we did it back in the day. But let's go ahead and take this portal to Akris, and we can go ahead and explore Akris a little bit for just a split second, because now that we have cleared the Lich King out of this area, we now have access to this place as being a home for us, where it is still in the Scarlet Enclave, which we can see over there is now completely destroyed, and there are now some banners of the Ebon Blade just kind of put up in place there. Or ultimately, it's probably a good thing the Scarlet Crusade faced a massive defeat. You can learn Corpse Exploder, and you can learn Winged Steed of the Ebon Blade, which I already have on this account. But we can run down this way where we see Squire Edwards, and we'll see some characters that we recognize from the Death Knight starting experience. Like we have Daring Morgraine down there, and if we come down this way, we can actually find a Rune Forge. And since we have a new greatsword, we can go ahead and apply this new buff that we can get, which I'm going to pick Razor Ice again, I guess, so not necessarily a new buff, but to our new greatsword of the Ebon Blade, which looks very, very cool if I do say so myself. And we have successfully crafted that. And we can still see Master Siegesmith Corvus around here. And this is just a really cool area, where in the Legion expansion for World of Warcraft, Akris actually gets moved to the Broken Isles and it becomes the like Order Hall for Death Knights in that expansion, which is a cool idea, but it does make it like a little messy with Akris also being here in the Eastern Plaguelands. But it is fun to just return to it every now and then as you play through the game. Right now, let's go ahead and head towards the Trade District, and I might set my Hearthstone here. Or we could keep it over by Chromie, I guess, because I'm going to return to Chromie next episode, where we can head to Outland, where in the original Wrath of the Lich King, where we see the Death Knights start at level 55, and by the time they are done with the Death Knight starting experience, they are typically level 58, and it's actually really fun because in the original experience, as you complete quests, you get talent points. So you get talent points as a reward for quests, and it basically like helps you get to like level 55 talent points, and then as you level up you get the talent points as well. And when you leave the starting area, you are officially level 58, and then in like Wrath of the Lich King Classic or Cataclysm Classic, if there's like Joyous Journeys, are level 59, but level 58 is the perfect level that you need to be at in order to begin the Burning Crusade content, which is kind of interesting because Death Knights were released in Wrath of the Lich King, and then when you're done with that Wrath of the Lich King, or when you're done with the Death Knight starting experience from Wrath of the Lich King, you head to the Burning Crusade and you spend some time layer leveling up until you reach level 68, and then you start doing Wrath of the Lich King stuff. So it's kind of weird that some people found that like a little interesting, but I still enjoy going through the Burning Crusade a lot, of course, and I don't mind that part of the leveling journey. And we can get to level 68 pretty quickly, where we can start Wrath of the Lich King right away, or we can go to like the War Within. Let's go ahead and chat with the Honorhold Mage, and this is very similar to our adventures on our Draenei Warrior and our Blood Elf Warlock, where we are here at the Stair of Destiny, and we can now make our way down the stairs where we can chat with Commander Drone right here, where we can complete this quest. And then we have this quest, and we're going to go over to the Flight Master right here, and then we can go ahead and fly to Honorhold. And in Honorhold, we can go ahead and chat with Daneth Trobane, which is actually a really interesting interaction, because the original Death Knights come from Warcraft 2, where they were orc necromancers who basically like performed a ritual and took over the souls, or the bodies rather, of fallen knights of Stormwind that died in like the first war and like the second war, and are basically just like using their corpse as like a vessel, and they are using like necromantic abilities and whatnot, where we then see Ner'zhul become the Lich King because of, you know, Kil'jaeden being mad about Ner'zhul failing him and like the invasion into Azeroth, and there's a lot of story there. But then we see Arthas become a Death Knight because of Ner'zhul, and then Arthas becomes the Lich King as he fuses himself with Ner'zhul, and then we see Arthas basically create Death Knights like us. So we, more modern Death Knight, is going to be interacting with Daneth Trobane, who is a character who interacted with the first Death Knights because he fought them because they were orcs during this storyline in Warcraft 2, where he is a son of Luthor, of course. And we have completed this quest, and now we can head to the two different areas, and we can begin doing quests all around here, and we could do dungeons and whatnot. But I actually want to head towards another zone, which we're currently level 18, so we cannot fly to that zone on like a griffin or whatever, but I could use like a flight path to get there, because we have learned every single flight point here in the Burning Crusade content, just because that's how World of Warcraft is structured nowadays. But let's go ahead and just run over there ourselves. We're up in front of us, we can see the border between Hellfire Peninsula and Zangar Marsh, which Zangar Marsh is like the second zone in Outland, which if you are a level 58 player, you cannot head to this zone. You have to be like level 60 in order to begin this zone. But you know, modern day World of Warcraft, you can go ahead and just run this way. And I think I just want to spend a little bit of time just completing some quests around here, and we can go ahead and just gain some experience. Where my Hearthstone has 21 minutes, so maybe I'll just like mess around for like 21 minutes, and I'll just show some highlights of my questing experience, where I do have one story that I want to tell. But we can go ahead and run down here first, where we saw Rain at the Light's Hope Chapel earlier, who is a member of the Sonaran Circle, and with the Burning Crusade we see the Sonaran Expedition, a group of the Sonaran Circle going through the Dark Portal and exploring Outland, and basically interacting with all the native plant life around here, where there are a variety of different quests around here that we can do. But I think I want to come into every single building and just double check all the quests that we have in here, where we can kill Boglash. Why not? We have Yasiel Windsinger. I think this quest is going to send us to a dungeon and to another character here. So disturbance at Umberfin Lake, and then checking up, this is to go to the dungeon, and then we can go ahead and talk to the warden here in the Sonaran Enclave. So use our speed boost. I always found this innkeeper here with his dapper hat and staff and cape very cool looking. But we have Toulouse right here. We have a wanted poster, which is going to have 2 quests for us, I believe. Let's go ahead and pick up both of these quests, where we can unlock some new armor to upgrade our pre-existing Death Knight armor. But I do really enjoy how this armor looks, but we can transmog any new armor we get. And if anyone knows my Orc Death Knight character, which I played in like a couple of episodes of different series, and also my live stream stuff, I like to rock some of the classic Death Knight armor. But we can get 30 Naga Claws as a part of this quest. And let's go ahead and drop down here, and maybe I'll just complete these 4 quests as like a little bit of a start to this zone, and just to mess around here for a little bit. And Zengar Marsh as a Death Knight is a very important zone for me, just because of like the levels of nostalgia I have with this zone, where I have my original Death Knight character that I played through and Wrath Lich King, where I have some memories of playing through that character in Cataclysm, and I have quite a few playing through Wrath Lich King, but I feel like it's relatively limited because it's been so long since I played on that character, and it was like so long ago, and I was like a child, so I don't really remember too much about like playing as that character. Where I remember reaching level 80 during Wrath Lich King in Ice Crown, where I did this in a stream I think, but it was in Ice Crown, the final map, and there's like Yemmerheim, I believe it's called, right here, and there's like the like ramps up the cliff to get up towards like the main part of the village. I reached level 80 while fighting some of the Raikou right there, and that was very fun. But I just have, you know, random memories of like playing Winter Grasp, and I didn't know how to spell vehicle, so I always said Vehex, even though you just add like 3 or 2 more letters there, which kind of embarrassing, but you know, I was a child at the time. Where do I have Path of Frost actually while we're here? Where I think I saw it. Path of Frost, level 27, never mind. We'll just swim across normally. But in the Burning Crusade, of course, I finished the Death Knight starting zone, and then we have to go to Outland in order to complete quests here, where I was really interested in Northrend especially, but I do enjoy Outland a lot, and I enjoyed it quite a bit when I played through it originally on my original Death Knight character, because I had my Knight of Warrior, which was my first ever character that I ever created. And I reached like level 55 just in time for Wrath Lich King to release, and that was like perfect in order to get to like the Death Knight starting zone, because you needed a level 55 on your account. And I created my Death Knight character, and then, you know, I played more of my warrior later, but my first experience in Outland was on a Death Knight character. Where the biggest memory that I have in Outland is actually here in Zengar Marsh on that character, where I remember like just leveling through like Hellfire Peninsula as normal, and then I got to Zengar Marsh, and I was kind of learning about like how to play the game more properly at that time, where I like learned a little bit more about like how talents work, and there's like tank specs and DPS specs, where I had like no idea about any of that. And it was here in Zengar Marsh where I started kind of like discovering more about that, and like I think somebody was like explaining it to me at some point. But I believe the first ever dungeon that I did in World of Warcraft, I might have done a dungeon on my Knight of Warrior, and I just don't remember it at all. But I want to say the first dungeon that I ever did was actually the Slave Pens here in Zengar Marsh, where I remember being in the Sonaran Refuge, and I think I got a whisper where somebody's like, hey, you want to do this dungeon? And I said sure, and I did the dungeon, and you know, it was a pretty casual experience. I didn't really know what was going on, but I think we cleared through it okay, and I probably got some loot or whatever. But I just remember doing that dungeon, and it was just, you know, super fun to like experience like something new for the first time as like a new class, which it probably helped me a lot playing a Death Knight, because Death Knights are so easy to play and were really overpowered at the start of the Wrath of the Lich King. We were playing through as a Death Knight character, somebody who's not like super good at World of Warcraft at the time, or I guess still nowadays, but Death Knights aren't as good nowadays. It was just helpful for me to be able to experience like the game to like a different degree, where if I kept playing as my warrior character, I might have, you know, not have been performing as good, and I might not have gotten like as far into World of Warcraft, and my entire life might have been different had I not played a Death Knight. But I just have a lot of memories in this zone, just hanging out here and completing quests here, and then getting into that dungeon and learning about the game a little bit more intricately, because, you know, I was a pretty casual player, and going to the end of Wrath of the Lich King and into the Cataclysm expansion and through most of Mr. Pandaria, I started taking World of Warcraft pretty seriously until I quit during Mr. Pandaria. And then I returned for Classic WoW, and I'm just ultimately like pretty casual with the game. But I still like understand the game to like a relatively good degree, just because of my general knowledge of like playing video games, where, you know, me as a gamer, you could say, is much better than what I used to be as a kid, just because, you know, I've learned so much over the years. And the amount of resources and like general gaming culture when it comes to like learning how to play a game in like a very good way is like completely different than when I was a kid. But of course we kind of lose a little bit of the experience with that, where, you know, there's so much like hyper optimization, and like so many people care about like being like as good as possible at the game, where it does take away in some ways. Where I think that's one of the reasons why I love like, you know, vanilla and the Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King so much, is because, you know, one part it's nostalgia from like playing this game during a time where, you know, hyper optimization wasn't as important, and like people were like a lot more chill and casual, so there's like some rose tinted goggles there. But also just from like the element of like the gameplay as a whole, where ultimately vanilla World of Warcraft is a very, very easy game to play, especially compared to like, you know, mythic raiding in the War Within, for example, is very, very, very sweaty, and it's just like a completely different vibe. And there's, you know, people who enjoy either one or both of them or none of them, and it's kind of just fun to play through like this version of the game with like how it is, with it being like a relatively more like casual experience. It's really focused on like the concept of like immersion and like progression through the world. Let's use our Remorseless Winter here. This is going to slow everyone down. I think we can heal ourselves up. We did reach level 19, which is cool, and we were just obliterating all of the Naga here, which is fun. And I'm very interested. I didn't check the name of the person, so I can't really look it up. I guess I could check the recording, but I wonder where they went in the world, because we are here in Zengar Marsh right now, and with how much content there is in World of Warcraft nowadays, that person really could have gone anywhere. They're probably doing like Dragonflight right now, if I were to guess, as they level up towards level 70. Or they could even be doing Time Walking dungeons, which is actually Time Walking Classic right now, which we could do, which I feel like is kind of fitting. But I don't think I want to do that right now. Where we can kill this Naga boss. We have one more leader to kill, and then we need to kill quite a few more undead, or quite a few more Naga, in order to get some Naga claws. Which right over here we have the main Alliance outpost in this map, Tower Door, which is a very fun area. It's like a giant mushroom colony basically, with some Draenei buildings on top of it. Where here's the other leader that we need to fight. So let's just run up here and kill this person really quickly. Some more Naga joining us. Let's go ahead, Death Grip, and we'll interrupt her Frostbolt in the process. She just launched us up in the air. Our head probably hurts after hitting the roof there. Freezing Circle. We can go ahead and use our own Freezing Circles. Kill this leader. But of course, in the original Burning Crusade, this boss was an elite, but Death Knights can very, very easily solo this boss. But if you were playing as another class, you might want like one more person here in order to kill that enemy. Where all three of these quests were actually elites, and there's quite a few elites across Outland and also in Northrend who are no longer elites in the modern version of World of Warcraft. There's the last Naga Claw we need, so now we can head back towards the Cenarian Refuge, and we have 4 quests to turn in, which should give us some experience in order to progress towards level 30 is kind of my goal, so that we can fly around Northrend next episode. For next episode, I do want to spend some time just exploring a couple of the starting areas in Northrend from the perspective of an Alliance character, but this is something that I've said in both of my previous Let's Play series. I've explored a lot of Outland and a lot of Northrend in streams, and I've just spent a lot of time playing through like these areas and having fun in those streams. Where in order to get back to Stormwind, I guess there's a lot of different ways we could get back. We could go back towards the Dark Portal and take that portal, or we could wait for our Hearthstone, or we could use the Death Gate and we can teleport to Akris, and I think we could use the portal in Akris to get back to Stormwind, but I think I want to go ahead and actually just run to Shadrath really quickly, because it's kind of fun to go into that zone as well of Terrakar Forest. Where I really love like these bridges surrounding like the mushrooms here, and it goes like over some smaller mushrooms and over these little creeks right here, and we can enter into this refuge, which is a very peaceful area, which of course it is a refuge, so it better be a peaceful area. We have a quest right here we can turn in, get some gold and get some experience. That's a decent amount of experience. I think we'll level up to level 20 off these quests, but maybe we'll be right before level 20, but my guess is we'll be level 20. So let's go ahead and turn in these quests and see what happens. The big moment where we have Warden Hemut, a warm welcome, turn in these claws, we get some potions which we cannot use until we're like level 23. We have these other ones we can't use until level 20, and then let's turn in this quest as well, and wow, we are 31 experience points away from reaching level 20, so we were just barely under it. Where I got these 2 new items here that I could equip if I wanted to, and we can start equipping ourselves in some Burning Crusade gear with some of our like Wrathlish Keen gear from the Death Knight starting experience here, where there's an Umber Glow Stinger right here. Let's go ahead, ruin its entire day, just death grip it away. Oh, Keleth is going to help us, and we leveled up to level 20, which means we actually just unlocked switch flight style. Do we only have to be level 20 in order to unlock flying? Let's go ahead, check here. We now have 100% movement speed, which I think is actually might be what we had already. Let's go ahead, got the Depth Stalker. I'm looking for the Griffin, what's it called? We could get the Ebon Griffin because we're members of the Ebon Blade, but that is from the Burning Crusade expansion specifically. We're here, we have the Winged Steed of the Ebon Blade, which I feel like is fitting. Let's go ahead and mount up, and it looks like we can dragon ride as this, and we have actually unlocked flying, which is cool. And I want to switch flight style because I'm not a big fan of dragon riding in a World of Warcraft, and we can go to steady flight. And let's go ahead and just fly over towards Terrakar Forest, and we can enter into Shadrath City. But this mount looks very, very cool. And of course, it's basically the same mount, the exact same mount that we used to get from Akris down to Death's Breach in the starting zone. But here, Terrakar Forest, of course, kind of similar vibes to Zengar Marsh, but very, very different than Zengar Marsh, where I just love the aesthetics of Outland, and Shadrath City is a very cool city. I know some people don't like the city at all, but I personally find it very cool. But it pales in comparison to the capital city in Northrend, the main hub, the major sanctuary of Dalaran, or Dalaran, however it's pronounced. Alright, let's go ahead, fly back to this portal here, and we can take it to Stormwind. And I think here I'm going to go ahead and call this episode good. We're off screen, I'll clear my inventory and stuff. And next episode, I'm going to go ahead and spend some time exploring Northrend, because I love that continent a lot, and we can just complete some of the quests there, and we'll probably play through like 2 episodes worth of content in Northrend. So about 2 more episodes left in this series as a whole, where I hope you all enjoyed watching this episode, and I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember, as always, to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the World of Azeroth. Goodbye.